deep within the mist-shrouded jungle, and the massive silverback King Kong emerges from the thick, ancient emerald foliage. The ground begins to vibrate as hundreds of giant serpents slither through the damp and dark forest floor. Kong stops and sniffs the air, his powerful nostrils flaring as he detects the overwhelming scent of musk.
A massive reticulated python rises from the ferns, its yellow eyes locking onto the colossal primate's steady gaze. Kong beats his massive chest, a display of dominance, intended to ward off the encroaching cold-blooded army.
Kong leaps backward with surprising agility, narrowly avoiding the strike as he prepares his massive fists for combat.
3 snakes coil around a nearby mahogany tree, preparing to strike the primate from a much higher vantage.
Kong grabs a fallen log and swings it in a wide arc, scattering the smaller vipers into shadows.
The largest of the snakes, a black titan, weaves through the undergrowth with tactical and predatory calculated precision.
Kong roars toward the canopy, his voice echoing across the valley as the jungle falls into eerie silence. A snake strikes from above, but Kong catches it mid-air with his powerful and massive leathery hands.
Dozens of green mambas rain down from the trees, creating a chaotic swirl of scales and flickering tongues.
Kong uses his immense strength to uproot a small tree using the root ball as a makeshift shield. A giant constrictor wraps itself around Kong's torso, squeezing with enough force to crush any ordinary living creature.
Sunlight breaks through the canopy, illuminating the scales of the thousands of snakes now surrounding the primate king. Kong stands his ground in the center of the ponds, clearing his eyes, scanning for the next deadly move. The snakes begin a synchronized approach, moving like a single massive wave of scales toward their giant target.
Kong pounds the earth with both fists, creating a localized tremor that disrupts the formation of the serpents. Kong swatting the cobra aside with a backhand motion, sending the venomous snake flying into the thick brush. The battle moves toward a muddy riverbank, where the terrain becomes slippery and much more treacherous for Kong.
Kong loses his footing on the slick clay, falling to one knee as the snakes seize their opportunity.
He grabs 2 anacondas by their necks, slamming them together in a display of raw and unmatched power. The snake army retreats slightly, reassessing the situation as the sun reaches its highest point in the sky. Kong breathes heavily, steam rising from his body as the heat of the tropical jungle intensifies the struggle.
Kong ignores the warning and charges forward at his massive feet, leaving deep indentations in the soft jungle soil. The snakes create a wall of bodies, trying to block the path of the oncoming and unstoppable primate. Kong stomps his feet with enough force to discourage the serpents from maintaining their tight and deadly grip.
The battle moves into a rocky canyon, where the snakes can hide in the many crevices and shadows. Kong scans the rock, his eyes narrow and focused as he anticipates a strike from any possible direction.
A massive viper strikes from a crack in the rock, but Kong's reflexes are faster than the serpent.
He slams the viper against the canyon wall, the impact echoing through the narrow and dusty stone passage.
Hundreds of smaller snakes begin to carpet the canyon floor, making it impossible for Kong to stand still.
Kong begins to climb the steep canyon walls, using his powerful arms to pull himself up the rock. The snakes follow, slithering up the vertical surfaces with terrifying ease as they pursue the giant primate king.
Kong reaches a high ledge and turns around, looking down at the army of serpents below him now.
He kicks a large boulder loose, sending it crashing down into the group of snakes on the floor.
A giant cobra reaches the ledge and lunges, but Kong grabs it and throws it off the cliff.
Kong beats his chest again, his silhouette framed against the setting sun as the day begins to end. Kong descends the cliff slowly, and his movements careful as he returns to the safety of the jungle floor. He walks through the remains of the battlefield, and his eyes showing a mix of exhaustion and primal triumph. A lone snake watches him from a high branch, its tongue flickering as it records the giant's departure. Kong reaches a small waterfall and begins to wash the mud and dust from his thick black fur.
The cool water seems to revitalize the great ape, who lets out a soft grunt of pure satisfaction.
Night begins to fall over the jungle, and the sounds of the forest change as nocturnal predators emerge.
Kong finds a safe place to rest, leaning against the roots of a massive and ancient banyan tree.
His eyes slowly close, but his ears remain alert for the sound of any slithering in the dark.
The camera pans out to show the vastness of the jungle, a place of constant and deadly struggle.
Deep in the undergrowth, the giant snakes gather once more, their numbers seemingly endless in the dark night.
The lead black titan snake stares toward the banyan tree, its cold eyes reflecting the pale moonlight. Kong opens one eye, sensing the presence of his persistent enemies in the shadows of the dense forest. He stands up slowly, the moonlight glinting off his silver fur as he prepares for a second round.
The snakes strike from the darkness, their movements almost invisible against the black shadows of the jungle floor.
Kong uses his sense of hearing to track the snakes, swinging his fists at anything that moves nearby.
A snake bites his shoulder, but he pulls it off and slams it into the tree's thick roots.
The fight becomes a chaotic blur of black fur and green scales, under the dim silvery moonlight above. Kong grabs a vine and swings through the trees, trying to gain a better position against the army.
He lands on a high branch and looks down, breathing hard as the snakes climb up after him.
The branch snaps under his weight, sending him and several snakes falling toward the dark jungle floor.
Kong recovers quickly and stands in a defensive circle, and his teeth bared in a silent and deadly snarl.
The snakes hesitate, their primal instincts telling them that the cost of victory may be too high now.
As the first light of dawn appears, and the snake army finally slithers back into the dark, deep holes, Kong stands victorious as the sun rises and the undisputed king of the jungle, once again, in the light.